Welcome to my presentation on disaster management in the Philippines. The Philippines has been considered the third most vulnerable country in the world, as it's an archipelago consisting of 7,100 islands. Its population is over 109 million. It lies along the western Pacific typhoon belt as well as the Pacific Ring of Fire. It has 220 known volcanoes, with 22 of them active. Country's vulnerability follows a bottom-up approach in which the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council serves as the highest decision-making body. The Secretary of the Department of National Defense chairs the organization, and the Office of Civil Defense Administrator serves as the executive director. There are multi-tiered bodies down to the barangay, or the community level, as you can see on the left. A DRR management office is established in every province and city and municipality. Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Committee is responsible for disaster operations with vertical coordination. Short timeline of the establishment of the current management system. This is due to the history and frequency of disasters and the landscape of the islands in which it's best for bottom-up, with each different island, region, indigenous group handling it as they can and asking for assistance when needed. The country faces many hazards, including the number one, typhoon, flooding, earthquakes, landslides, droughts, torrential rains and storm surge, and volcanic eruptions. All of the levels largely lack preparedness, in which local government units are unprepared. Recent assessment only showed 23% claiming they were prepared. The OCD has not made accomplishment, and the DILG integrated disaster preparedness for delivering basic services, but still overall lacks. Participants include governmental agencies across all levels, NGOs that assist in resources, training, and planning, such as the CDP, the military, which utilizes its assets and coordination, and international organizations in which the country utilizes the UN's clusters framework for international humanitarian assistance and operating on national and subnational levels. Some potential obstacles to their disaster management is finances. As an underdeveloped country, both nationally and individually, they lack the resources for research, technology, and, as we'll see, resources for the efforts of disaster management. For resources, lack of resources at home for the people, but also when it comes to response. Lack of resources led to the government taking on more private partnerships, which this author identified disaster capitalism, where large companies and the government are taking advantage of disasters for their own capital gain. This led to people's mobilization, so the formation of a people surge in 12,000 person vigil in 2014 demanded justice and accountability from the government in regards to Typhoon Haiyan. So a lack of government accountability is going to lead to more people mobilization. Climate change, with increased disasters, increased severity of disasters, and changes to the landscape, as well as population density, in which 2018, 51.2% of Filipinos lived in urban areas. Also keep in mind 10 of the largest cities are in the coastal regions. I'm going to use this quick case study to help answer the next slide. So this typhoon took place in 2013 as the strongest typhoon to ever make landfall, had winds up to 220 miles per hour, gusts up to 225. It impacted 9 of the 17 regions, had large fatalities, injuries, and 74 million people were displaced. The IASC declared a level 3 response with maximum humanitarian and foreign assistance. In that case study to show how disaster shaped disaster management, the response to that typhoon lacked coordination, capacity, early warning information. It wasn't clear. They lacked accurate storm surge information. And then soon after that was Typhoon Ruby in 2014, where a new government initiative, Project NOAA, issues early storm surge warnings with height and distance. City Council enacted an ordinance to conduct preemptive and forced evacuation. All vehicles moved to higher ground to prevent damage and roadblocks. City workers ensured family safety early on to be on call. City Council implemented city disaster risk reduction and management offices and updated their management plans. They utilized the private sector more and created the Philippine International Humanitarian Assistance Guidelines.